Headline news, 4 million people are no longer shielding. This video is why I have an issue with those kinds of headlines. Now, in my own personal view, the UK government and governments worldwide have massively failed the Me/C.F.S patient community in many different ways since the start of this COVID-19 pandemic. This idea of shielding is one of those areas, and I'm going to explain why. Now, firstly, here is why COVID-19, it could be significantly dangerous for Me/C.F.S patients. And this is how Dr. Nancy Klimas described it. Me/C.F.S patients are knackered at a cellular level. Because our immune system is constantly in fight or flight mode, the cells in our immune system are also knackered. That means we are immunocompromised because our cells are exhausted and don't do very well when they're fighting infection. So we are at a slightly higher risk of complications as a result of COVID-19. Now, as an Me/C.F.S patient, I can tell you without any doubt whatsoever that even a simple cold or stomach infection that most other humans would have without batting an eyelid can cause a significant exacerbations of my symptoms. Now, on day one, no one knew if COVID-19 would kill Me/C.F.S patients. Didn't know. How would you know? It was a new virus. But there is this caveat to say, not only are Me/C.F.S patients already experiencing a very poor quality of life, we have up to 60 symptoms, many patients are house or bed bound, and we react incredibly badly to any virus. We could end up being house or bed bound as a result of having the virus. Yeah, there's a lot of could, should, would, but I think there should have been this element of doubt, element of we need to protect these people just in case. And to be clear, Me/C.F.S is not the only illness that this applies to. It's just I have Me/C.F.S and I am an Me/C.F.S advocate. So that's why I'm talking about Me/C.F.S. But things like mild to moderate asthma are also not included in the shielding list. So since the start of the pandemic, we haven't been on the shielding list. ME patients have had to canvass their own GPs begging to be included on the shielding list so that they didn't have to leave their house to get medication. Food, you get basic food, stuff like that. Because lots of not sick people were hogging the delivery options for supermarkets. So where were these vulnerable people going to get their food from without leaving their house? So we had that fight at the start of the pandemic. And now, since the vaccines have come into fruition, we're not on the priority list, group 6, either. So not only are we shielding out of being sensible and knowing our own bodies, knowing our own disease, we're not included in that list either. And when the ME Association have contacted all sorts of people in Department of Health and Public Health England, all that, they were told, oh, well, GPs have got discretion. Me/C.F.S can be included in the priority group 6 list. Patients have had to contact their individual GPs begging with very limited energy to get their hands on vaccines. I've had a conversation with my GP and she's a very ME aware GP, so I'm not complaining about that in the slightest. But she said, I'm sorry, but I'm going by government guidance. Me/C.F.S is not on their list, so I'm not vaccinating you ahead of your age range. So, but in the same breath, she also said, please make sure you do not catch COVID a second time because you've already got long COVID. You are already struggling to breathe. If you got COVID a second time, I have no idea what it's going to do to you. Still no vaccine. And I am very grateful that I am not in employment, because now that shielding is over, anyone that is physically able to be in employment can no longer rely on shielding as a defence. Because a lot of people have managed to have a really good engaging conversation with their employer, and their employer said, okay, although you don't have to officially shield, I'm happy for you to shield at home, work from home. Those people are now being asked to go back into work without being vaccinated and still being in exactly the same position that they've been in for the last, 13, 14 months? So don't celebrate the end of shielding, because the people that weren't on that official list will not have been vaccinated. So you are asking vulnerable people who risk being house or bed bound or significantly harmed as a result of COVID-19 to get back to normal. But if you actually sit down and have a conversation with those people, they will be able to tell you, when I had a cold, I couldn't get out of my bed for a couple of months. When I had a cold, I went from maybe having mild ME like I've got to being bedbound. You are risking people's lives by not taking ME seriously. Speak to Dr. Nancy Clymer. She knows about the I think it's compromised or suppressed. It's one or the other, and we're moderately. Because of the way our bodies don't create or manage energy effectively, it affects every single system in the body. That includes the immune system. But if the UK government took C.F.S seriously, because it doesn't, and no one can persuade me that it does, because it doesn't make sure that it's included in medical training, it doesn't make sure that we're eligible for benefits, it doesn't make sure that we're included in the shielding list. The NHS website just makes out that it's light and fluffy and it's not a big deal. It says that most people recover, when in actual fact it's the complete opposite. 95% of patients never recover. 25% of those patients are bed-bound. So is it any surprise that this shielding issue has wound me up? Because anyone that's in my situation that's got mild ME, who has been choosing to shield, because unlike what COVID deniers say, I'm not frightened of the virus, I'm frightened of what the virus is going to do to my body. There is a difference. When you live in a body that's got something wrong with it, and in my case and in millions of other people's cases, it's ME/CFS. When you know how your body reacts to the slightest thing, and you know that COVID-19 is either killing older people or vulnerable people, or causing chronic illness, it's scary. And now national newspapers are celebrating the fact, yay, people that are shielding can go back into the wider world. Only the people that the government chose to be on that shielding list. There's probably double that amount of people that have had to choose. Some of them have had to leave employment because they were not prepared to take the risk to their health. Those people are not included in that 4 million. So if you want to learn about ME/CFS and find out why this shielding thing is an issue, please do take a look at Stripey Lightbulb's training, stripeylightbulb.com. But this is an advocacy post because I am sick and tired of reading, oh shit, there's nothing wrong now, COVID's finished because people aren't shielding anymore. Speak to the humans that relates to, and it's a whole different story.